It's time for The Real World with Lee Anderson, Westminster's toughest talking MP and not shy of tackling the country's most important issues. Today, Lee confronted Home Secretary Suella Braverman about the invasion of more than 40,000 illegal Channel migrants reportedly now living in British hotels after the emptying of the Manston Processing Centre. So here's the King of the North in action.
What do I say to the people in Ashfield who say to me, this is absolutely ridiculous? We've got hard-working, tax-paying people in Ashfield paying their rates, paying their taxes, helping to look after our own homeless people and put them in local hotels. Now they've been turfed out to put people in who, quite frankly, have been trafficked. They've got no right to be here, and some of them are criminals. Please tell me what I say to them.
Well, I agree that we are in a crisis, and you know, I don't think it's fair to try and minimise the challenge that we are facing.
Lee, were you satisfied with Suella's response?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm not satisfied with the response. The response was expected. You know, I've been banging on about this now for 18 months to 2 years, the same question. At the start, I was on my own. A few colleagues have joined in now. We're making the same noises every single day. Look, it's an absolute scandal. I'm embarrassed. We've got people in Ashfield that's been turfed out of a hotel for homeless people, and we've got the illegals up in there. Like I said to Suella today, what do I say to my constituents? Other than I'm sorry, we've let you down and we should be ashamed of ourselves.
Because, Lee, these figures that have emerged today are astronomical. I mean, we, the British taxpayer, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, we are paying for 40,000 migrants to stay in hotels. I mean, this is not sustainable.
It's a scandal, Dan. I mean, I can bang on all I want. I come on your show every week and bang on about it. I bang on about it in the chamber at work. I go and see the Home Secretary, I speak to colleagues, and still nothing changes. It's got worse. We've got the borders bill in. We've got the Rwanda plan coming. It's got worse and worse and worse. It's time for drastic action, and I keep saying it, and they think I'm some sort of lunatic over at that place. When they land on our shores, we should give them a cup of tea, a couple of sandwiches, and send them straight back to France the same day. Once we start doing that, they'll think twice about coming.
But, Lee, why can your fellow MPs not understand that unless you do that, and do that now, I can't see any way for your party to win the next election?
Dan, I come on this show every week called The Real World. They don't live in the real world, they live in the Westminster bubble. I suspect once the illegals start dropping on their doorstep, in their hotels, then they'll start and kick off about it, which we're seeing at the moment. I said it before, you know, some of these MPs have got second homes in London. Let's turf them out, put some of these illegals in, and then they'll start making a noise about it in the chamber the day after.
And this is destroying towns now as well, Lee, isn't it? Because there are certain communities now where actually 3 or 4 of the main hotels are shut for the foreseeable future. And this is actually now stopping tourism. That then impacts local businesses, and actually it will end up changing the fabrics of the community.
So the hotels that we're talking about, Dan, they're used for tourism, as you rightly say. They're used for tradesmen and for contractors who travel in to do jobs, to do work, and they're used for the homeless from local authorities. They've been displaced now. Where do they go? Like you say, at Skegness, where a lot of my constituents go, they're not going to be able to get into hotels next year. And believe me, these illegals that are stopping the hotels, they ain't going out buying candy floss and toffee apples and spending money in the slot machines. They're more likely to be up to other activities, if you know what I mean.
No, I do. I do. It is an absolute disgrace. It has to be sorted, but I just don't feel any sign of it. You know, Lee, actually, I'm a big supporter of Suella Braverman. I think she wants to do the right thing. In fact, Lee, I'm convinced she wants to do the right thing. But she's having her hands tied. She's
been dealt a poor hand. I'm not.
Why doesn't Sunak man up and realise the issue?
The whole of Parliament needs to man up, Dan. There's a massive issue.
But surely it's on him now.
Yes.
It's got to be on the Prime
Minister. The buck stops with the Prime Minister, absolutely.
Because this is a national emergency.
And I honestly think that all MPs, not just the Prime Minister, all MPs there, at that place I work at, they just don't get it, Dan. I mean, I keep banging on about it till I'm absolutely blue in the face. I feel sick when I see the boats come over. I'm going to keep on. When I'm in the chamber next week, I shall be on again. If I get a chance tomorrow, I shall be on again. I shall keep going on and on, why ever I'm the MP for Ashfield.
Well, you know what, Lee? I think that's great because genuinely, I don't feel the disconnect between the Westminster elite and the media elite in this country has ever been more vast with the ordinary, hard-working folk of Britain. I mean, I thought it was bad after Brexit, right? Because obviously they were trying to thwart the biggest Democratic vote in a generation. But I actually think with this crisis, it's top, because as you say, they just don't get it. They just do not get it. They do not understand. And the terrible thing is they immediately call people like you or me or your constituents who have a problem with this racist and bigoted. That is the ugliest thing they possibly could do, because actually, do you know, when it comes to human rights and being humane, the best thing anyone could do is stop the boats, because you smash the human trafficking rings. You know,
how about us being humane, Dan, to the homeless people in Ashfield who served out this hotel?
Absolutely.
They're my priority.
No, and they should be. Look, elsewhere this week, Lee, you backed England. Well, England actually backed out, didn't they, of this plan to do their virtue signalling at the World Cup. Harry was going to run out, wasn't he, with a little rainbow. There it is, a little rainbow. And then when the FA said, naughty boy, you might get a yellow card, all of a sudden he was no longer the new Martin Luther King, no longer the new Nelson Mandela. He said, oh, sorry, won't do that. And I think that is the issue, which I know, again, you've been taking a stand on for the past year when you boycotted the team because of their decision to take the knee at the Euros.
Yeah, what a bunch of snivelling, pathetic cowards they are, eh, Dan?
Don't hold back.
Hey, don't hold back. I mean, absolute spineless, gutless. Look, they made a stand last year. I didn't agree with that. But they came out as a team that would make a stand, a political stand, to support minority groups in this country, all over the world. But now they've got a chance to make a real difference to support the gay community. What do? They say, no, it's not worth it because I might get a yellow card. They should hang their heads in shame. I don't really blame the players. This is the FA, this is. Yeah. They instruct the players.
Well, they bottled it.
What a bunch of snivelling weasels.
They bottled it.
Bottled it, absolutely bottled it.
And don't you think this is why, actually, just go and play the football. Yeah. Stop your preaching, stop your lecturing, because you just look like hypocrites. But and actually, now we know that they don't really mean it.
That was the point last year, then. Why are we getting involved? Why footballers go and play football? You get paid a lot of money. Go and win a World Cup. I tell you what, go and do what the women did this summer and go and win a trophy for the first time in about 60 years.
Although they did do well.
Very well.
They did do well. We have to say that. Finally, I have to show you this. So your favourite sparring partners at the BBC were shameless in their bias pre-budget. This is something that my team discovered and wanted to play to you.
That's because of the very, very difficult economic situation that we have.
Caused by a former Conservative Prime Minister and former Chancellor, Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng. People will ask, Vicky, what's the point of the Tory party?
So I have
hang on, what is the point of the Tory party?
So I would have to absolutely disagree with what has just been said in Labour. And I will...
Yeah. And do you know what's extraordinary about that, Lee? Then when the Labour MP spoke, we watched the whole thing. Yeah. She spoke uninterrupted for about 90 seconds. Is this bias within the BBC now so intrinsic that they don't even realise that it's going on?
Well, she was saying there, what's the point of the Tory party? I would go back at that and say, what's the point of the BBC? And I'll tell you what the point of the BBC is, Dan. It's now the official opposition in this country. The Labour Party has been next to useless for the past 12 years. It's these liberal lefties on the BBC, you know, I don't know where they drag them from. You've got your Linekers, you've got all sorts of nuisances on there. You're spouting their nonsense. You've got the newsreaders, the reporters, all these journalists you see on there absolutely hate the Tory party. They're not anti-Beeb anymore, they're anti-British.
So how are they getting away with it? I would put it to you, Lee, that actually it's partly the fault of your party, which said they were going to get tough on the BBC, decriminalise non-payment of the licence fee, and again, this new regime has bottled
I'm not going to hide away from this, Dan, I agree. I stood up in Parliament and told the Speaker, told the whole of Parliament that I'd ripped my TV licence up. I'm not paying it. I think it's a load of ramble. It's rubbish. And if they come knocking on my door, if they send the heavies round, they'll get told to clear off and go and move in with Lineker for a couple of days. That'll frighten them off, won't it?
Lee Anderson, our King of the North, thank you so much, Lee. Now